I don't intend to have a very formal presentation. I know I do refer to a number of issues on the talk, expectations and outcome. But with the time allocated to me, I'm going to try and just take you through and give you a basic understanding of the operational activities of the electronic crime unit of the South African Police Service. But before I start, I would just want to say that Program Director, I think the crucial questions that is always posed to me after having presented is the reporting mechanism. The old story about going to the police station and that is an issue that I really think that we should explore, and it is in fact part of the cybercrime policy. And hopefully we'll get to a stage where that problem will disappear to some extent at least. And then of course the issue of detection rate is also important. I think the detection rate is way too low, apart from the reporting. And then lastly, the conviction rate. Now, if my old friend, Advocate Paul Lowe was here, he would say to me, Piet, but this is a 95% conviction rate in courts, which is great. But it's only the matters that we take to court. But I'm fairly confident that matters that we do take to court, that we normally succeed in letting justice be done. I'm a former murder and robbery detective, and I asked myself the question last night, am I still applying the investigative methodologies that I applied at the murder and robbery unit? And the answer is yes. I've just added to it. So I think that the point I'm going to try and make is that we have specialized capacity within the South African Police Service. We've established that. But there's a downside to it. And the downside to it is that when you create specialized capacity, everything gets thrown to a few people. And I think the solution, in fact, Professor van Solms, I think I referred to this at ISS, at the Institute of Security Studies, that I think the solution is actually to get all the detectives trained in the South African Police Service in order to deal with electronic-related crime and cybercrime. That is the real solution. Because you'll increase the capacity tremendously by doing that. And furthermore, the whole issue of attending to the cyber victims, the normal cyber victims out there that is not getting the attention they deserve when they report matters. Our pensioners, our grandfathers, our mothers, our fathers are daily victims of cybercrime. And we just do not have that capacity within a specialized unit. You know, the threshold is always a problem, and I hate that if I see that the effect is in some instances even worse than when you address a R1 million fraud case. I've decided to, perhaps I should just have a look at this. I've decided to put a few pictures in for you to make it a bit more operational, so I can just tell you a story about it. And this picture relates to a controlled delivery operation that we did. You can see it was raining at the time, and we worked along with the Australian Federal Police, safely delivered the package, identified individuals, and that was part of one of our operations. We certainly have a mandate within the DPCI, within the Directorate, and the whole issue of national priority offences, in line with, of course, the National Development Plan, the legislative framework. I think it's well established. There's fragmentation within the structures of law enforcement that I think is really affect the effectiveness of our efforts. But in short, there's pockets of excellence that I think you need to take note of. There's different kinds of cybercrime, electronic-related crime, and it obviously needs to be categorized. The issue of syndicates utilizing the proceeds of cybercrime to commit other crime, I think it's an issue that we need to just be aware of, and the impact of cybercrime. This photograph relates to, I think it's 6 o'clock in the morning, Cape Town parking lot, preparing for an operation. If I recall, it was a successful operation, a number of people involved. The different stakeholders, and I'll get to that. It's not just the detective that is important, but you need a lot more people to get the work done. Within the DPCI, we have the electronic crime unit, which is my unit. We also have a forensic capacity, small, relatively small. The forensic capacity, to some extent, have been decentralized within the directorate throughout the country, and they provide the forensic analysis and acquisitions to all national priority crime investigations that we are involved in. Within the electronic crime unit, and I'll specifically refer to some of our investigations, the ones that I can talk about, and give you an idea of what we are doing. We have taken it slightly away from the traditional investigative approach to a more proactive, intelligence-led, project-driven approach. I think that describes it the best. And not having one single investigating officer investigating one case. We're having a number of stakeholders within government and within the private sector investigating one project or one program. And I hope that I could just refer to those a bit later. We all know about the JCPS cluster, and I'm not going to bore you with that. I think it's important just to take note that we need everything that we do, we need to align everything in line with what government is saying to us in terms of the National Development Plan, specifically Chapter 12 and Chapter 14, in terms of safer communities. And I know that Chapter 14 refers to corruption, but in most of our cases, there's elements of corruption, inside collusion, within the victim's environment, some of the cases, and it's important to address not just the legislative framework in terms of cybercrime. There was reference to the ECT Act, but also to look at corruption and add it to the indictments. This photograph refers to, I think, 4 o'clock in the morning. That is what Durban looks like, 4 o'clock in the morning before an operation. The policy framework, I think here what is important is to say the police is responsible for the development of certain policies. It's been done. The paperwork has been done. It's been tabled in principle. People like it. I think we need to just push it through. Internally, we have a steering committee, and I was telling Sarel a bit earlier that our chairperson became the victim of cybercrime over the weekend. So that helps. It really helps to push it a bit.
How did you activate that? How did you do that?
It wasn't planned, Professor. Yeah. And then perhaps also develop and maintain the enforcement capabilities. And that is actually quite a task. I think we're building capacity, but we're not building it quickly enough. The comments that was made by Prof. Basi about, are we losing the war here? If we continue the way we're going to lose. The number of cases being reported since I started investigating these type of cases, I think in 2001. And I recall that the Standard Bank case was one of the first cases that Advocate Paul Lowe, myself, and Colonel Yolanda Gay worked together. And I recall very clearly that when I had a look at this, I said, this is too complicated. Rather stick to normal fraud, check fraud. I know it. It is not unknown to me. I can't do this. This is not what I want to do. Or give me drug cases and all these other cases. But the fact of the matter is that we have no choice in this, in terms of getting our investigators trained and looking at it slightly differently from international standards, looking at international benchmarking. And we've done a lot of research with the US, the UK. I've recently visited the National Crime Agency Cybercrime Lab. We're not so far behind in terms of what we want to do. It is actually just that they've done it already. So I think we know what we want. We just need to go and do it. And we have to invest in our human capital. I think that is the key. And then improve the basic understanding of cybercrime. So important, and I think it's something that we are attending to. Quite recently, I provided training to station commissioners. I was actually quite surprised. I was surprised that these guys are interested. And I think it's important that we don't just train the specialized units. I'm going to run out of time if I carry on like this. I think we have the strategic plan. Cybercrime is in there. The Minister of Police gave his budget speech this morning. There was reference to cybercrime and to the recent ESCOM and the Gautrain matters that I'll refer to a bit later. But I think what is important here is, this is not a picture from Google. This is one of 3 of our well-respected colleagues. Advocate Paul Lowe in the middle. He prosecutes a number of these cases. On your right-hand side, on your left-hand side, Advocate Elijah Mamabolo, a well-seasoned prosecutor responsible for the conviction of Alistair Pieterse, for instance. And then on the right-hand side, one of my very senior investigators, Colonel Lerato Mabusela, brilliant investigator, a guy that gets things done, and he's involved in quite a number of these cases. Okay. This is part of my unit. I'd like to just highlight 2 individuals. Colonel Yolanda Gere, sitting on the left-hand side. I will refer to one of her cases, an international takedown operation that she was involved in. Major success, and she was supposed to be here this morning, but they are busy with some operational work. And then on the right-hand side at the back, Captain Katie Mampa. She was involved in a matter, identity fraud, 54 people arrested in the takedown operation, 54. And that was absolutely tremendous impact in terms of identity theft. A case study, I'm sure that this case study is well known to you. There's a reason I'm using this case study. The fact of the matter is it's the normal people out there, and I know Professor van Solms always asks me, what are we doing to protect the normal victim, the normal mothers and fathers and old people? And this is one of those banks that was targeted. And when they were targeted, I think this is really important. 42 million rand stolen at one time, right? 50 million rand withdrawn from ATM machines all over the country, a number of provinces within South Africa. Over 5,000 transactions within the period of 2 days. Well organized. 1 person, 2 persons, 5 persons can't do this. 20 people can start planning this. This cyber heist was planned 2 years in advance. If you look at the opening of the beneficiary accounts, well planned, well executed. But what is interesting right down at the bottom is to say the ATM limit, 1,000 rand, increased to 500,000. It's not a mistake. That is how it was increased. And within ABC Bank, nobody picked it up. Right, so immediately we were thinking of an inside colluder. In fact, that was exactly what happened. and there was an inside colluder that we've arrested, and we'll refer to that now. But if you look at international cases in New York, and at the time when ABC Bank was the victim of this fraud, I was in New York. The Junkers matter happened, I think, some time after that. But what is important here is that you see similarities. We're not far behind. In terms of international standards, where criminals are involved, in the Junkers matter, there was withdrawals made in Cape Town. Okay, so if you compare the money, I don't think you should look at the value. The fact of the matter is it is complicated. The infrastructure, transnational nature thereof, there's quite a number of similarities. So this is Colonel Gere in Cape Town, busy with a matter that we dealt with some time ago. I think that was the Standard Bank matter. And what is important is these things hit the newspapers. I think it's a good thing. But at the time, when I saw it in the newspaper, that is how it was reported to the police. Nobody knew about it. I just arrived the Saturday evening from the US, and this is what greeted me on the Sunday morning. We didn't have knowledge about it. It doesn't just happen with ABC Bank, it happens with a number of our other cases as well. Sometimes the victims are not even aware of the fact that they are victims. What is important here? The security network, there's certain concerns, it's too fragile, and that cyber criminals have inside knowledge. They recruit people, and I'll refer to some of the other cases just now, where they will actually get people to apply for positions within the entity, the potential victim. How do you deal with these cases? There's 3 pictures here. Top left, you need informants, intelligence. You need to know about it even before it starts. ABC Bank, we didn't know about it at all. Not at all. Caught us off guard. We're trying to change that. To the top right, normal police work. The normal run-of-the-mill detective work is important. And that is what I'm saying is we can teach, we can train our normal detectives to investigate electronic-related crime. And down at the bottom, once you finally arrest one person, what happens sometimes in law enforcement, people stop. You need to follow through. Okay, don't stop. Once you go to court, you continue with the investigation whilst you go to court. I think this is quite important. By the way, this is one of the matters that we dealt with. It is also on carte blanche. Mr. Pieterse that was arrested there at OR Tambo. And I heard him saying on carte blanche he's now working with the police. But what is the results? The result is that you arrest quickly, you have a proper prosecutor. By the time you go to court on the following day or in 2 days' time, you're ready to proceed. You tell the defense that you can actually continue with the trial. You can set the trial date. 25 years imprisonment for the inside colluder. And you can see that we arrested him in February. He was sentenced the same month, right? And the same for the other 2 that we've also arrested. And then very interestingly, down at the bottom in June 2014, we arrested the outstanding person, right? We didn't stop looking for him. But how did we arrest him? We arrested him in a sting operation, a Section 252A operation. We worked closely with the National Prosecuting Authority, with the Crime Intelligence Agency, with the sources that is available to us, the banking sector. We set up the sting. He wanted to steal 50 million rand from the same bank. We arrested him on a Sunday morning in a spur in the middle of Bloemfontein. All I know is it was very cold.